Hi, and welcome back to What That Means Is. We're on Series 2, and this is Episode 2. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Rosalie and Ken.
Hello,
nice to be
Ken.
here.
And I'm Ken Drysdale, for those of you who don't remember or maybe don't want to know, and our sidekick here, Chris Riddell.
Hello, everybody.
I'm a sidekick too, by the way. Rosalie.
Which one of us is Matt Dillon, and which one of us is Festus? Now there's one for you. Rosalie doesn't even know what we're talking about again, Chris.
No, but I was going to say something about.
This is what happens when you hang out with 20-year-olds.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, brother. I'm just going to let that go.
So today we're talking about the use of surgical masks, which was, as you remember, was mandated in Canada. And again, we're taking a similar approach to what we took in the report, and we want to compare, what the government. The first thing we're going to talk about, Chris is going to talk about, is what the government's messaging was and what the government's planning was around masks, and then we're going to talk about what they did. Right, Chris?
Yeah, you want me to go back to their original plan?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to
Good
start.
place to start, yeah.
Yeah, their original plan, they said the use of masks during a pandemic. I'm going to read out exactly what they put here. Although there is a lack of evidence that the use of masks prevented transmission of influenza during previous pandemics, in the early phase of an influenza pandemic, it may be prudent for healthcare workers to wear masks when interacting in close face-to-face contact with coughing individuals to minimize influenza transmission. This use of masks is advised when immunization and antivirals are not yet available, but is not practical or helpful when pandemic influenza has entered the community. I'm going to read that again. So it's not practical or helpful when the pandemic influenza has entered the community. There is no evidence that the use of masks in general public settings will be protective when the virus is circulating widely in the community.
And this from page 54 of the report, if you want to follow.
Of the report, and this message came from the Canadian Pandemic Influenza Plan for the health sector, authored in 2006 by a large number of doctors and health professionals across Canada, including some of the names look at who the director here was. What's that say?
Well, that would
Rosalie?
say Teresa Tam.
Teresa
Dr.
Tam.
Teresa Tam, director.
Yep.
And funny enough, it seems to me, I lived through this before, her name shows up almost on every page. And on some pages a couple of times. How many pages have you got here of people that were involved in?
Is it 9?
9 full pages.
9 pages. There's another name people might recognize.
Dr. Bonnie Henry.
Dr. Bonnie Henry. At that time, she was with Toronto Public Health. So this was in 2006, and I think you're probably wondering why we still have this report on the desk, since they threw it out when they acknowledged the pandemic in 2020.
So what else did they say about masks or some of the other things that they were talking about?
Well, we're talking about surgical masks here. I read and heard from various sources, doctors, that the surgical masks really are not as effective as they say. So we should talk about that.
Well, we are. We're gonna talk about these super duper masks that we were all forced to wear. And this is a little bag of them that we bought because we had to. And what does it say on
What
here?
does it say on there?
It says, not medical grade, imported by so-and-so and who's his wits from China. And just so that, in case you guys don't already have nightmares about these things. And by the way, did any of you see that study that I saw come out this morning with regard to what happens to these when they're let in the environment and they start giving off fibers? There's been a whole report done on that. That they start to deteriorate in the environment, and they let off all kinds of little fibers ranging from millimeters to a little more than millimeters, and they're unsure of what damage is being done to the waterways in Canada.
Funny that you say that, because I didn't read your source or hear where you got that from, but I was reading in the National Library of Medicine, which you can easily get online. There's tons of information. And there's information on that too, the degradation and really what you're actually breathing in when you're just using this, what you're breathing in from this very mask.
Yeah.
And also it said there is little evidence that wearing a surgical mask provides sufficient protection from all the hazards likely to be encountered in an acute health care situation. This from the National Library of Medicine.
Well, you know, it went even further than that. And this gets back to, you know, there's going to be a recurring theme here, folks, and I'm going to keep pointing it out to you, that they kept using the same techniques to gaslight you. And right this moment, we're not going to talk about arithmetic gaslighting, which is Rosalie's new term, which I hope spreads across the world. And just remember, you heard it here first.
It is a good term. It's, you know,
Yes.
taking math,
Fantastic.
arithmetic, and gaslighting you with it.
But some of you may or may not know, but one of the appendices to the original report that we did, to the investigative report, I believe it's Appendix 11. No, sorry, Appendix 10. Actually refers to a precursor report to this that I did in the fall of 2021, a year before
Right.
this report was done.
Right? Okay.
And we looked at masking in there, and again, going back to the same theme, you know, where they have, it's like playing the shell game. They tell you certain things because they figure that you're only going to look at certain things, and then they, in the back part they tell you the truth. Well, this was, I've got this. It's on page 30 of 66, which was my original precursor report,
Which is in the appendices.
which is in Appendix 10 to the criminal allegations report. But I'm just going to read from here. This was a CDC study that was done February 19th, 2021, and it was titled Maximizing Fit for Cloth and Medical Procedure Masks. That was the title of it. And then the summary that they give, and I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
What is already known about this topic? Universal masking is recommended to slow the spread of COVID-19. Cloth masks and medical procedure masks substantially reduce exposure from infected wearers and reduce exposure of uninfected wearers. And then it says, what is added by this report? CDC conducted experiments to assess 2 ways of improving the fit of medical procedures masks. Fitting a cloth mask over a medical procedure mask and knotting the ear loops, tying up the ear loops of a medical procedure mask, and then tucking them in and flattening the extra material close to the face. Each modification substantially improves source control. And then it says, what are the implications for public health? These experiments highlight the importance of good fit to maximize max performance. There are multiple simple ways to achieve better mask performance. Again, this is the summary. So again, I want to look back to the very first thing that they say in the summary of this study they did in a hospital setting with double masks, tying knots, tucking things in. So in the summary it says universal masking is recommended to slow the spread of COVID-19. Now that's interesting. That's the summary. But let's go and see what the CDC actually said in the report. Because I said this before. These people know that most folks read the headline and they read the summary and they don't read the whole report.
Or even just the first paragraph.
Yeah. So what did they actually say in the report? In the fine print, this is what the CDC said in the report. The findings of this report are at least subject to 4 limitations. First, these experiments were conducted with one type of medical procedure mask and one type of cloth mask among the many choices that are commercially available, and were intended to provide data about their relative performance in a controlled setting. And boy, that word relative, folks, I want you to remember that for an upcoming episode. But then it goes on to say, the findings of these simulations should neither be generalized to the effectiveness of all medical procedure masks or cloth masks, nor interpreted as being representative of the effectiveness of these masks while worn in real-world settings. That's what the report said, folks. That's what the CDC said. But you remember what they said in the summary. Universal masking is recommended to slow the spread of COVID-19. Cloth masks and medical procedure masks substantially reduce exposure, and yet they said these simulations cannot be interpreted as being representative.
This is outstanding. I mean, this is just, you know what they're basically, it's like, okay, so this is what we found, this is what it is. But anyway, never mind that.
Yeah.
What we're going to say is we're going to tell you to do the opposite.
Because
It doesn't make any sense.
well, it makes sense in the fact that they're thinking that folks aren't going to read the report, And then by putting those, by then allegedly gaslighting the summary, they protect themselves from legal liability by putting in that little paragraph inside of the actual report, which discounts everything they said in the summary.
So that's why we believe and know that you are highly intelligent and completely capable of saying to yourself, what does that mean? What that means is, that's what we entitled our show with that kind of a funny title. What that means is ... because we need to figure it out. You need to figure it out. When you're told something like this, what does that mean? Check it out. Read it. Read up on it. Find out. Ask somebody. Go to the internet. Start doing all kinds of research. What that means
It's never been an easier time in the history of the planet to get information.
Right.
Right information, wrong information, but
Check it out.
keep digging.
Yeah.
Keep digging.
And you have to be very suspicious of all the information because they are going in and changing definitions of words.
You mean like the word vaccine?
Exactly what I mean.
And you know, we've got I think it's an upcoming episode I think we're doing about and again folks, we talked about this corruption is in every institution, and we're going to cover that in upcoming episodes. But you know how the police have changed undertaking an investigation, which they need to have probable cause and a warrant to do. So the way the police get around you now, with regard to carrying out an investigation without probable cause or without a warrant, is they say they're examining open source information. So they're monitoring your emails, your texts, your posts on social media.
How do they know it's open source? If it's your information, your social media, your emails,
Well,
how
because
is that open source?
It is in the public sphere, and that is true.
But it's your private email. It's your private.
Well, you know what? Where's the line on that? And I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm just saying
I know.
change the definition. It's no longer an investigation. It's open source material review. It's no longer experimental mRNA vaccine. It's a vaccine because we've just changed the definition.
C11, folks. That's another episode coming up pretty soon.
Bill C11, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I
Yeah.
injected myself there. So you guys want to talk a little bit more about the mask?
Well, we were going to talk about the whole micron thing.
Yeah, the micron, which is, what is a micron anyway, Rosalie?
Well, funny you'd ask, because I happen to have.
Well, I knew
looked it
you'd
up.
know.
I don't just know it off the top of my head. You see, I researched it.
Ah,
Okay, a micron, a unit of length equal to 1/1,000,000th of a meter, or a micrometer.
one
So it's pretty tiny.
1 million.
1/1,000,000th.
Pretty tiny.
Well,
That's tiny.
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, million is an interesting number. Most people don't quite understand. I think that's the amount of money that Trudeau wastes in about a microsecond.
Yeah, a few minutes. Yeah, right, yeah.
Microsecond.
Microsecond.
right.
That's right. Microsecond. Micrometer. Microsecond.
So, what we know using the microns is now an N95 mask can only stop 0.3 and higher, 0.3 microns and higher size particles of an N95 mask, which was the highly recommended one for DEFCON 7 situations. There we have a
We just happen to have a
container of them
box.
right there.
Because for folks who don't know, I'm not only an engineer, but I'm a welder. And so there is a N95
N95.
NIOSH approved mask.
Okay.
There's a couple of things that you had that we're going to say about that too.
Yeah, what
Okay.
Well, the particle size that we're told that a COVID particle is, although we can't seem to find anybody who's actually isolated a COVID particle,
that's
but
true.
apparently what they're saying is the COVID particle is 0.06 to 0.14 of a micron. So that's less than half of what the N95 mask can stop. So
Right.
the holes in the N95 are bigger, are twice as big as the particle of the largest particle of the COVID, even though we don't know of anybody that's actually isolated the COVID particle.
Do we know what the size of particle is in these cloth masks that can pass through it, Chris?
It says the surgical masks were slightly worse than the N95. I didn't get the.
Well, I can tell you these are a lot more than slightly more expensive than these are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really interested for us to try to do that little experiment or object lesson that you gentlemen were thinking about doing. And it's really, I mean, honestly, this is not pre-prepared. I mean, we have masks, but we didn't try this before doing it for you.
We
live.
don't know the size of the particles or what we're about to try to put through
Exactly.
this mask.
But you know what we're going to do? We're going to find out, and we're also going to put them in the ribbon here when you see the video. You're going to get various different sizes on the big screen. You can see right now we've got showing the size of the particles between the size of the holes in the masks, the size of the particles of the virus, supposed size with the ghost virus,
Yeah.
and then of various other things. Now, before we do this demonstration, I know that, you know, in the days that we're living in, that we have to give you a cautionary note that you're about to witness somebody smoking.
Take the kids out of the room.
Take the kids out of the room, and I'm going to give you just a few seconds. This is kind of the time, Chris, that maybe on the screen there we should put up one of those things from, you know, when we were young and it was at the drive-in movie theater.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So we give you a chance to get the kids out because you're gonna see
Wasn't
somebody.
that telling us to go buy more popcorn or something like that?
That's true, but
Yeah.
it was also, you know,
Yeah.
I won't mention what else it was used for.
I don't know if this is the time to say, but when we were mandated to wear masks, I was in a store wearing this kind of a mask and just walking around, and wow, I tell you what, I for sure smelt pot when I was walking by some people. It was in a store, and I thought, wow, I could literally just kind of like be hotboxed right in here with all the pot that I was that was coming through my mask. No
Wow.
kidding. I just thought, whoa, that is really, really potent. And I had to, you know, I just had to leave with my mask on to get out of that aisle.
So
I
I'm
mean, it was very potent.
I'm thinking we gave you sufficient time to get the kiddies out. Now there's a nail here, Chris, so that's a safety hazard,
Okay.
right? And yes, these.
Wow, disclosure like crazy.
That's right.
Yeah, and folks, these
We're
are
really
Monte.
coming clean here.
These are Monte Cristos, donated to me by a very, very nice man
Good friend.
who goes to where you can buy Monte Cristos a couple of times a year.
Doesn't Chris get his own?
No, I'm fine.
Oh.
Just
It's not going to be any different who does it.
No, I know, but then you can
Who's ever
smoke the
blown
leftover,
smoke.
the
never know,
rest of it
That's
later.
fine. I'll be sick for 2 days.
Okay, oh, okay.
All
I got
right,
this.
there you go.
I got this one.
Live TV, folks.
That working?
You want to hold that for a
I
second?
sure can.
Now I'm going to put on the surgical mask here.
I do love the smell of cigar.
Now
Can't-
look
can't
at,
do it
I'm even
myself.
squeezing the little thing at the top.
Okay, all right.
Now how do I, okay, so I'm gonna, of course my glasses are fogged up already.
Should I take your glasses off?
Or smoke up. Here we go.
You know what?
I
Do-
have-
you have to do it again because you
I have to do it
remove
again because
that.
this was in the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
We don't want it to seem like an illusion. Did it come through here?
it sure did.
I think you should do it one more time.
You know, I'm gonna take my
You
glasses
should have
off.
another cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it came out here.
Came out everywhere. It's in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's coming
Oh,
out the
shoot.
sides.
Yeah.
Now that is the typical surgical mask.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, you won't necessarily be able to see it on here, but that was what, 3 puffs, and you can see the tar and stuff that's gathered on here. So it caught the tar, not the smoke, and then I'll be breathing that again and again and
Rebreathing
again.
it.
Rebreathing
Yeah.
that.
Rebreathing it. Now I have the super duper gold standard N95 mask.
I just wanted to say this puts a whole new spin on carbon dioxide in.
Yeah. Now I want to point out that these are not called masks. They're so much better than these other things that they're called respirators. And so this is a respirator, folks. And you actually take a course on how to be fitted for these, by the way, because
Wow.
I took that course when I was in welding school. And now if I could remember how to, which
Well, this is the
last-
nose part right there.
Yeah, we didn't even go to the class. We know that. Right?
Smarty passes. Anyway, so I'm gonna
Hours of
fit,
observation.
I'm gonna fit the mask. And
You must have been a great cop.
okay.
Not really.
All right, so I've taken my glasses off. See, folks, you're seeing me with no glasses on here. So now I'm going to lift up my respirator. It all came up. Even though I've got it, I actually squeezed it around my nose here with it.
Yeah. Here, give me the cigar after.
All came out.
Yeah.
You see it go past my
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
It went in my eyes. What a way to ruin a good cigar.
Yeah.
The things Ken will do for science.
That's right. The things he'll do for you.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy that cigar at all, and that's the truth. I really didn't enjoy it because normally I'd be sitting with a nice glass of scotch and really enjoying myself, not putting on a darn mask and wasting a good.
But okay,
Monte
so
Cristo.
but we wanted to prove something, which is what did we prove? What our aim was?
Yeah, the first thing that it did, to be honest, is it put all the smoke into my eyes
Yeah.
Yeah.
when I
Okay.
breathed out,
Yeah.
and you could see the mask stained in just a short period of time. So whenever you're breathing out in that thing for 8 hours a day, you're
Wow.
going to be breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, folks, it was obvious that we put everything away, but I guess you can bring the kiddies back in now.
Yeah.
Or I'll get rid of the lighter here.
While we're waiting for you to get the kids, I just
Yeah.
want to add here that during my look on the internet, they say that the particles of bear spray are 10 times larger than the COVID particle, and still no effect from the masks.
So the mask doesn't stop it. You're still
No.
going to be hot. So a bear attacking me
Yeah.
with a mask on, with one of these
Yeah.
surgical masks on, because they don't want to get COVID and give it to grandma.
I think what it's saying is if the bear's wearing a mask, spray it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's
it'll,
saying.
It'll still work. So. Why aren't you writing
Oh
this
my
down?
gosh!
Why aren't
you
you
know
writing
what?
this down?
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's we gotta be levities, right?
Well, we've talked about my mother and cod liver oil many, many times, and how horrible that was. She used to put a little orange juice in it, and it was
Yeah.
still horrible, but it was
Yeah.
made it. So this is the same here. We try to give you a little bit of levity because we want you to watch. We want you to watch
Yeah.
to the end,
Yeah.
and we need to make it somewhat entertaining for you as best we can.
But that's pretty darn funny. So if a bear wants to attack you when it's wearing a mask, spray it anyway.
Yeah.
So Yogi and Boo Boo, save your money. Don't
Yeah.
bother to buy a mask.
buy a mask.
Because we're still gonna get you.
Never mind COVID.
That's right.
The bear mace is gonna get you. Boom. Okay, so
So the other interesting
Yeah.
thing that you mentioned to me before, Chris, was about the container that these masks generally come in.
Right. I've seen on the container in several different instances where it says is not effective against coronavirus.
Yes. And even this box here that we've got, and this was the N95 mask, the gold standard of all the masks. And by the way, I have to admit that I bought this box long before the COVID-19 pandemic came upon us. I think I bought this in, I'm just looking to see if there's a date on it. I think I bought it in 2017. Actually, it says March 25th,
Oh, wow.
2017 is what it says, and before the COVID. Now, what does it say? And I'm looking here on this box, it says cautions, and you can see that you follow along with me on the screen. And it says cautions and limitations. B, not for use in atmospheres immediately dangerous to life or health. And then P, as in Popeye, NIOSH, which is the regulatory agency under which these are made, an American one. NIOSH does not evaluate respirators for the use as surgical masks. And then the masks that were produced during the COVID-19 had and we're showing that on the screen now, had a little disclaimer on the bottom. They did not prevent the transmission or breathing in of the COVID virus. It could not prevent.
and
spread.
we re-emphasize is because the COVID, it's just the
Particle?
micron particle is so tiny.
Supposedly.
It's so
Supposedly.
it's so tiny they haven't found it.
Well, yeah.
There's been lawsuits that are current in the United States where universities are suing to get a sample of it.
Yeah.
Because no one's
Yeah.
seen a sample
Yeah.
of it.
And
Right.
there's been rewards offered
Oh.
if somebody will produce it.
Is that right?
I believe it's in the UK. It's over £2.5 million.
Okay, even that in and of itself, wait a second, this whole world has been turned upside down and nobody has even been able to observe.
Well, from what I understand, when something, wherever that thing came from in Wuhan, let's say, just for now, for fun, what happens is all these university research centers and all these pharmaceutical companies, hey, send us some so we can get working on an antidote.
Yeah.
And hundreds, thousands of labs contacted the government and asked, send us some so we can get working on it. Nobody got any.
It's kind of like moon rocks.
Yeah.
You know, I saw, because you know what? Just last week I saw an article where they were talking about they didn't land on the moon, and so what they
Right.
did was NASA had given, I think it was the king or the prime minister of Sweden or Norway or something, a little plaque that supposedly had a moon rock on it, and somebody got a hold of it and tested it, and it was petrified wood.
Oh,
And so
wow.
they were using
knew
that.
better than that.
Yeah, so you know, maybe they were sending out something else to these universities. Maybe
Wow.
it was ground up Cheerios.
Well, it
I
sounds
don't
like they
know.
didn't get anything.
Yeah.
No, they never got
They didn't get
anything.
anything. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
there were also studies done by the WHO, and they were saying, and again, it's on page 28 of the 66-page report, which is Appendix 10.
right.
And it says, this is by the, and there's a link there, by the way. The WHO report stated, overall result of evidence on face masks. 10 reports were included in the meta-analysis, and there was no evidence that face masks are effective in reducing transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza. So even the WHO, who were proponents of putting the masks on, at the same time were saying that there's no evidence that they do anything.
Right. So now what we're looking at is, I don't think there's a lot of argument that the masks is not effective. There's not a lot of argument. So my question is, the government told you to wear a mask, when was that? March 2020?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, they said, no problem, don't need to wear it anymore for the general public. And I still see people wearing it. And arguing about it.
Yeah.
One individual told me that the government's not following the science as she keeps wearing her mask.
Well, she's right. The government was never following the science.
Yeah, you kind of got to agree with her, don't you? Yeah.
But you know, folks, we're not suggesting to you that you shouldn't wear a mask if you really want to. If you really want to, but you should really understand what the collateral damage that you're doing to yourself is by wearing those masks. If you want to wear it, go right ahead. You know, if you want to wear shorts in January and go skiing, go right ahead. I don't care.
Yeah.
But do yourself a favor and set aside whether or not what we're talking to you about now, and then look at the collateral damage. And do yourself a favor and actually sit down and think about risk versus reward. You know, you rebreathing the same air all the time, that's a risk.
Breathing in your own carbon dioxide.
Right. With that moisture that's building up in there in 8 hours, there's mildew and all kinds of other things that are building up there, and you're taking that in, you're keeping that into yourself. You know, breathing out is a waste gas. And it contains not only, you know, carbon dioxide and a bunch of other things, but there's trace minerals in there. There's all kinds of things in your bodies.
All your toxins.
All your toxins are coming
You know what?
in.
I've spoken with some chiropractors, some holistic practitioners, and some doctors that have all confirmed that they are seeing an uptake in people's respiratory issues because of
Yeah.
masks.
There's something out there now called mask mouth.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I saw
Yeah.
kids are getting
right.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As a
And
result
adults
of
too. A lot
all
of
that. Yeah.
their
Yeah.
skin acne.
Yeah.
And what is that doing to our kids' development? You know,
That's another thing I was going to talk about, the psychological
psychological.
effects of that's a whole nother
Absolutely.
study.
Yeah.
There's speech impediments. There's a reduction, or sorry, a retardation of development of speech. There's kids can't read each other's facial expressions.
They
Yeah.
can't learn when the teacher's wearing a mask.
That's right. They can't hear. I mean, half the time I can't understand somebody if they're wearing.
I mean, you know, you're covering half of your face. You can't even tell through a person's eyes if they're smiling.
Happy or sad.
Yeah, that is just a
Yeah.
brutal thing, especially for us adults, but for children, it really broke my heart for children.
Yeah, and again, you folks, if you want to for yourself wear a mask, God bless. I won't criticize that. But when the government starts forcing people to, and they start forcing little children
That's the
to,
thing.
and there's no scientific evidence, none,
No debate.
no debate that they don't do anything. You have to ask yourself why. Why are they doing this? We know what the collateral damage are. At least we know some of it. You know, it'll be years before we understand the total effect of it.
Terrible.
So why?
The whole idea of the mandates, the forcing, our last episode talking about trying to take guns away, trying to force you in this episode, we're talking about masks, trying to force you to get vaccine, trying to force these orders from the top down, forcing you to do this, forcing you to this is a problem. This is this is a problem to freedom. So this is a thing that we have to really we want to talk about that. We want to get you to think about what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We've got to stand up. We've got to stand up and say no.
Fear and anxiety are better countered with data and education than with knee-jerk mandates.
Wow, can you read that again?
Sure.
Or say it again.
Fear and anxiety are better countered with data and education than with knee-jerk mandates.
Yeah.
And we talked about making decisions. And when you're making decisions, you need all the information. Or the more information you have, the more able you are to make a decision. The more time you have, the easier it is to make the right decision. And I compare that to being a policeman showing up on a scene and having to make decisions like that. I may not have all the information, but I got to make decisions. As opposed to going to court 6 months later and the lawyer can tell you everything you did wrong or question everything. No dig against lawyers, but I'm just saying that the fact of having time allows you to make better decisions. Well, what did they do with all this? They took away the time as much as they could. They just said, do it, do it, do it. What about the debate? What about,
It's all an emergency.
They just said, so they took away our ability to make an informed decision and took away the ability to have debate or do any research
Didn't show
whatsoever.
any options.
Nothing.
Had
And
no
they
options?
didn't show their information, their data, their science.
But you know, Chris, the funny thing is I like your example there about, you know, you come onto a crime scene and you have to make some quick decisions. We've all been in that situation. And we've all been in the situation where the people after the fact has time to study and look at it and they can point out all the things you did wrong, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is the reverse, folks.
Yeah.
Because Theresa Tam and a lot of medical personnel and organizations in Canada did this. They put together this over 500-page report with 9 pages of references to people who participated in it. They sat down, coldly looked at the facts, went through it in logical detail, and they made decisions. One of which was, don't use masking, it doesn't work. So it was kind of in reverse to what Chris was talking about, and yet they still did it. And when they got into what they considered to be an emergency situation, and I say it that way because if you review our investigative report in the previous editions, you'll see there was none. This was not a death sentence if you got this.
Right.
You know, it was far from that. The statistics were just incredibly small as to your risk in different age groups. Even in the oldest age group, your risk was still 10 times higher of just dying from natural causes than it was of dying from this COVID.
Kind of reminds me of somebody running into a room going, oh, it's an emergency. Oh, this crazy thing happening outside. Oh, and it stirs everybody up and everyone's going, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. But, you know, nobody stops us. Just a second.
Yeah.
What's actually happening? Wait a second.
Yeah.
They didn't give us a chance to do that. It was an emergency. It's like that whole thing. It's against the law. You can't run into a building and say fire, fire, fire.
Yeah.
But in a sense, they kind of did the same thing.
They
They
did.
totally did.
Yeah.
You know, they did worse than that. You know, in all kinds of levels of our society, the police, paramedics, all kinds of emergency personnel, what do they do constantly? Train. So that when the emergency hits, you go into automatic and you don't have to think about all those decisions. You just go into automatic with all the training and you do it.
Right.
Well, Theresa Tam and all of her friends did that. They did all the studies. They spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars to produce this report because it did cost millions of dollars, folks. We spent $28 to $30 million on stockpiling antivirals. Just like my brother who used to be a paramedic or my other brother used to be a fireman, they train. They get to a fire, they get to an emergency, they just go into automatic. This is what they were doing, training. But when they got into the emergency, they lost their minds.
So in 2006, their intentions were very good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long this took to put together, but they've covered pretty well everything. And if they'd have just implemented this,
Well, again, that
They'd have been
makes you
heroes.
wonder why. Why? You study, you put all this together, all the millions of dollars, and then when the actual crisis, I say in parentheses, hits,
Yeah.
none of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes why go to the trouble? Why ignore it completely? Why, when you say masks don't work, and we've figured out, and not just here, but there's all kinds of ways we figured out that masks are not helpful, and they're actually detrimental. We showed you now. Why then use it when you said not to use it? I mean, it's a pretty simple question, but you got to shake it down. You got to shake it down and see what's lasting here.
And all their studies, I mean, come on. The CDC puts out a report with a summary that says completely the opposite of what they actually said in the report. That's not a mistake, folks. I don't know what it is. Again, I won't make a judgment on that. But how did they justify that? How did, with all this planning, all of this money spent,
they might have forgot they had this. Maybe they forgot. Maybe it was missing.
Maybe it was
Missing information.
They don't even
Chris.
look for
Yeah.
missing stuff.
Missing information.
They don't even look for it if it goes missing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could spend a lot more time talking about this subject, folks, but we wanted to give you some things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to give you some sources of information. We wanted to give you some perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think, unless,
I
Rosie,
got one more thing.
Yeah, well-
I can add, just out of this pandemic influenza plan of 2006, just one of the comments that I didn't get out there, for the use of masks by well individuals, for all you people that are well, that are wondering whether or not to still wear a mask, this says the use of masks by well individuals, the use of masks apart from other infection control practices, is of limited effectiveness and may provide a false sense of security. How does that sound?
That's on page 53 of the report. If you
Yeah,
want to
the
look at it.
investigative
Yeah,
report.
use of masks by well individuals.
Yeah. I did want to say one more thing too. It just what really is, weighs on my mind and my heart even about this is this is a really effective tool, believe it or not, to isolate a person.
Yeah.
That whole idea of isolation. And
Dehumanize.
Yeah, and I am behind this now. So you can't see half of my face. So not only does it hurt injured children, adults, even now going into stores, you see, you don't see. It's like, well, stay away. That's what it's saying. It's
Yeah.
saying, stay away from me. And really, our message for this year, actually, the underlying common denominator message, we really want to be able to tell you folks, we want to promote unity and community. Even if you don't always agree with somebody, and there's all kinds of levels of that. We are all human beings, we're in this together, we want to fight for truth, and we want to stand up for each other, and we really want to stand up for truth. We want to hear from you, we want you to tell us what you think, we're open to hearing it, but despite and apart from everything else, we have to be in this together, and be with each other, and I hate the idea of on side, that side, our side, our side, your side. We have to be united,
Yeah.
all around. And that's not to say you have to think like I do or I have to think like you do, but let's give each other the benefit of the doubt, and let's not allow isolation to occur between us. Again.
And how good did it feel when we could go to the grocery store and didn't have to wear that
Oh,
mask?
it was
And
almost
we
like
could,
euphoric.
we could smile
Yeah.
at people and see them smiling.
Yeah.
We were talking to people. We were socializing again. It was almost. It almost made me cry.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling. It was.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, like it's like a,
Yeah.
we need each other. We need each other. I mean, I know we can drive each other crazy. I get it, but trust me, I get it.
part
But
of
we
the
need
plan.
each other. We need each other. I need you, my darling.
Look at isolation, tribalism, separation, racism, all the other isms.
Right.
The government's doing that.
Yep.
Not us. I'm 64 years old.
You told
I
everybody.
told everybody.
You told them.
I'm 64 years old, and I've traveled this country from coast to coast, east, west, and I've been almost up to the North Pole within a few hundred kilometers, and I've met thousands and thousands and thousands of Canadians, all nationality, all original heritage nationalities, all creeds, colors, races. I've met and worked with them all. And I have to say, I've never run into the mythical, misogynist,
racist, criminals.
Xenophobic, whatever that even
Yeah,
means.
that our government is telling us about. You know, they do this for a particular reason. They make us wear these things for a particular reason. And Rosalie talked about one, but in my mind, and I always think that completely dehumanizes me.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to hate me when you can't see me. You can only see my eyes. You can only imagine what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about when you can only see my eyes.
I
It
could be
e-
sticking
it
my
could
tongue
eas-
out at you.
It could be easy to abuse you when we can't
Yeah,
see
because
your
you
full
Yeah.
features.
Yes,
Because you're
yeah.
dehumanized.
Really, yep,
Kids, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and it's
Kid-
easier to hate.
Yeah.
It's easier to hate, and
Yeah.
that's what they're promoting, folks. Don't make no mistake about this. You know, we started talking about masks, and now we're kind of talking about the aftermath of these masks. We're talking about their messaging that was mixed in with false health advice, which they themselves said was false. Not my words, their words. So,
Yeah, so we are going to stand up against division. Obviously we want everybody to be healthy. That's a whole nother subject, but anyway, so we've given you some things to think about.
absolutely.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so thank you very much for joining us again today. We love that you allow us into your home and onto your screen of your computer, and we'll keep on doing it. We'll do our best at it, and by all means, like we said, please give us feedback. We'd love to
Yeah.
hear from you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you on the next episode, folks.
See you
Bye
next
for now.
time.
Bye-bye.